Lance Armstrong staat hier bij mij, Karel. Lance Armstrong, it's an honor to have you here in Bruges. Why the Ronde van Vlaanderen and not Milan-San Remo and Liège-Bastogne-Liège, for example?
Well, there's always a reason. I mean, I was scheduled to race in Milan, but got a little bit sick before that, so I decided not to push it. You know, this is also a very different race than San Remo or Liège, and you know, this is in the world of cycling, history of cycling, this is one of the most epic experiences that you can have, especially as a racer. Not to mention for the fans, but also critical to get some time on the cobblestones, and the stage 3 of this summer's tour is going to surprise a lot of people. You know, when you have these 7 sections of pave close to the finish, it's going to make a difference.
I saw you practicing on the Muur and on the Koppenberg. How did that feel?
It doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't?
I don't like it at all.
No, but it was practicing for the tour, of course.
Well, those days I was just trying to learn the course for today, but the sections in the tour are flat, so I think it's different. But look, I mean, pave is not pleasant for anybody. I mean, that's what we did a long time ago, and now they make them flat, but it makes this race beautiful and epic.
If you're not going to win today, who do you think will win?
No, the favorites are obvious. I mean, there's 3 or 4 big ones. I think we got some good guys. I think Weitges will be strong, Rosselaar, Gregory Ross. We'll try to stay up front, stay out of trouble.
Okay, see you in Meerbeke and later in Rotterdam.
Thank you.
Het startschot is gegeven in Brugge. De 94e ronde van Vlaanderen is onderweg, dames en heren. 262,3 kilometer, dat is de exacte afstand van deze ronde van Vlaanderen. En ze gaan hier binnenkomen als de wind gunstig gezind is. En dat is hij wel, want hij waait uit het westen. Ik vermoed rond 4:15. Tussen 4 uur en 4:30 in elk geval. We gaan straks wel zien wat dat geeft in deze ronde van Vlaanderen. Valt nu al een deel van de stress weg bij die mannen? Of moet
Van Vlaanderen of anderen van landbouwgebied die gaan proberen Skil-Shimano van Cancellara in de belangstelling te rijden. Dus die jagen onmiddellijk dat tempo 50 per uur. En dan moet je toch zorgen dat je mee bent.
Goed, we gaan de ronde van Vlaanderen nu laten voor wat ze is.
Ja, Fabian.
Genere! Come on! Ja, goed jongen.
Finale, dus de ploeg van Finale. Alcosta staat er terug bij. En Rousseau. Nee. Van links. Hey. Dinatiev. Dinatiev. Boucher. David Boucher. Sledja hier.
de provincie die we straks zullen verlaten. Verschrikkelijk veel volk. Nog geen druppel geregen gezien vandaag met dat peloton. Het peloton dat 8 dan eigenlijk ja, toch vrij makkelijk die ruimte heeft gegeven. Ze hebben er niet zo hard voor moeten koersen, die vluchters, om weg te geraken. Ik heb al andere ronden beginnen gezien en vandaag was het eigenlijk redelijk snel gepiekt.
Ja, kon ik in het paar, niet van Cancellara kon ik 4 paar. En de skill.
Ik doe het. Ja, ze erbij.
Hey. Moest je opkomen? hier. Nico. Service. Aye.
Used to help him in the garden. You could cycle past and see him working in the garden, growing his own veg or cleaning his bike or whatever. Real down-to-earth chap, Van Petegem. Still lives on the course. For Omega Pharma, we'll just have to see a little bit. You have to chase hard now. Look at this, as they're all splitting up. And the wind coming strongly, you'd have to say, from their right-hand shoulder. Normally a tailwind blows them back in, but then of course you just wiggle around all over the place from now onwards, and the wind can have a big effect. It's already splitting up. This is going to be a cracking race, Sean. I tell you what, if you're watching this and you haven't already got the lefts in or the duvals, go and get them, or you should send somebody out to get them. And just kick back, put your feet up, watch the best race in the world. Thanks to my producers in Paris for saying they'll get me a quick drink or two. It'll happen
well. We've seen him in the Newsblad earlier on in February, but also last week in E3 Prize in Harrowbeck. He was up there in the final with Bonin and Cancellara. They went away in the last 20 kilometres, and the three of them just rode away from everybody else. So he is surely in form. Gilbert, who
Cervelo test team, but Thor Hushovd is their big name. Of course, there is Fabian Cancellara, the Swiss national champion, world road time trial champion as well. Dan Lloyd, I think probably more of a late call-up than anything else for Cervelo test team. I know he was having to prepare to help Carlos Sastre in the Giro d'Italia, and he was a bit disappointed that perhaps he wouldn't get a go at some of his big favourites, which are the classics, but he seems to be included in this squad. Adam Blythe, young Adam Blythe. That's a good shot. Nice and steady. These are our breakaway riders. The men out ahead at the moment, Nicolas Rousseau of AG2R. Vincenti Garcia Costa of Caisse d'Epargne, Michele Merlo of Futon Cerveto, Olivier Bonner of Francis de Jeu, Mikhail Ignatiev of Katusha, David Boucher of Landbouw Credit, Floris Goossenen of Skill Shimano, and Just van Lenen of Wacker Soleil. To see him there. Whoa, no, more crashes. It's Huterovic just held up by this. Anybody gone really down? They're just being tangled up. It looks like Lecatre, who's picking his bike off of the floor. 164, Geoffrey Lecatre. Now it's a little bit more interesting. Last back, I think, is the man who from HTC Colombia. Well, there's more than one Radio Shack.
A lot of movement. The riders are trying to move up, and if you find yourself back at the rear of the bunch, it's so difficult to get back up. And then we can see another crash here again. Down they go. So you know, it tells us how nervous it is. A big one here at the moment.
Oh dear! I just said wouldn't be surprised at all if they all start colliding again. Much nervousness going on in the middle of the peloton. Complete carnage here. That's Ivanov, Sergei Ivanov. Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. That's looks like it's Salsi. Oh dear! Number of riders on the deck. André Grifko, who should be would be a bit of a threat later on. Grifko is the Astana rider at the front sort of job. If you lose it on the old Quaremont, then you might as well go home.
Well, if you go on to the old Quaremont too far in the bunch, well then it's difficult, because there are definitely going to be splits there. And again, it's in that top 20-30 riders maximum. That's where you have got to be on the Quaremont, and you know, to get over the Quaremont, it should not be difficult for the favourites, because at this point in the race, you know, we're still with 90 kilometres to go here. They're not going to be suffering at this point, and if you are suffering as a favourite, well then you're going to be in problems later on. So it's just all about positioning, and just keep yourself out of danger, and get through this section without having to make any great effort where you get caught behind in a split and you have to chase to get back in, because that's something you will pay for later. So it's, you know, all about just staying up in that top 20-30 riders and getting through this section without any difficulty and without getting into any panic area.
Thanks for the link, whoever sent it to me. I can't remember. For the helmets there, that's Laser Helmet making those painted Lion of Flanders helmets. They are cool. I like them. I shall have to get onto Laser and get one. You've got Laser helmets at your team, haven't you?
Yes.
Do your Belgians ride with a Lion of Flanders on?
Well, I haven't seen them yet, but they're probably for the big teams today. We might get them a bit later.
Yeah, get them a bit later down the line. That's it. They're cool. Aero shell cover pre-Flanders. That's right. Laser helmets debut snap-on aero shell cover for their helmet, so it goes on over the top. That's brilliant. So you need a laser helmet, and then you can get the cover. Well, there we go. We've got some. You can write in, of course, on cycling.eurosport@yahoo.com. We've still got time. The The hostilities have not really started yet. Lewis Champion from Perthshire, 12 years old, just joined the Tay Titans Bike Club, saying, my dad's taking me to see Paris-Roubaix next weekend. We'll be the ones with the big Union Jack. There you go. What's the best places to see it? Well, we'll do two halves of that question. If you're ever coming here, Lewis, this is one of the best races to come and see as a spectator, because you can move from hill to hill, assuming you plan it in advance and you've got a car. You can come and see them on the hill, rush back down the bottom, jump in the car, go to...
Yes, if you're going to Paris-Roubaix and you just want to see it at one point, well then maybe, you know, the Fort of Arenberg is a good area. What else? It's, you know, it's a spectacular set. With some guests we had from visiting on behalf of the team we had in the race, it's just crazy. There's so many people getting from one point to the next. It's impossible to move at times, and Paris-Roubaix is much the same situation, I would say.
Look at this. This is the problem. Get stuck at the back, and you're in trouble. Kevin Hulsmans, maybe he's had attention from the team now, because he's still right at the back here, number 5 on the left-hand side. He's looking lean, actually, Hulsmans. Looking in good shape. But chasing the game at the moment, because he's had mechanical problems. Service Carnarvon is the small rider in the Milram colours right at the back. Look at this. Saxo Bank control the event here. That's extraordinary. The whole team almost across the front. Gustavo Glasson on the far left-hand side of your screen. There he is. Stuart O'Grady in the middle. Frank Hoyt next to him. And I think it's Casper Klostergaard on the far right-hand side. Also Matti Bretschel sticking up towards the front. Surely they must be working here for Cancellara, Sean, because Cancellara is sort of hiding himself a little bit further back, but Bretschel still up towards the front.
Yes.
There's the peloton, Saxo Bank leading him out. LA Tyler. All right, Lance. Guy's got a minute.
You've got to sit back there in 15, 20 position, and you know you're getting pulled along. You're not in the draft at all, and you know you save that little bit of energy, which can be so important in the final. And that's where the big, you know, the big riders, the experienced riders, can do it so well. And you know who better than Bonan and can. Narrow roads, turning all the time, and then all the cobble sections and the cobble climbs throwing in. You have to, you know, really concentrate on what's coming up. And if you know the road, the route very, very well, well, then you can relax a bit. But if you do not, you have to memorize it, you know, from a ride over it, and that's something where you have to really concentrate big time.
There's Matty Bratchell in the middle, and that's Stuart O'Grady. Now, what does this hill really mean? We talk to Philippe Gilbert as our breakaway riders are on it.
The
Quermont plays an exceptional role. It's a very strategic spot. This is where riders lose a race. It's not a place where the race is won, but it's a place where the race can be lost. It'll be important to be well placed. You've got to be at the front, in particular at the top, because starting from there, that's when the battle really gets going. It's difficult to get back in the race. Well, that's certainly the assessment of Philippe Gilbert. Would you agree with that? You've got to be up to, you said that already, you've got to be up towards the front. If you're down the back, then you're always chasing the game.
Yes, and he mentioned, you know, at the front, at the top. Well, if you're not at the close to the front and the bottom, you're certainly not going to be there at the top because you know it's not like a long climb in the Tour of France where it goes on for 8 or 10 kilometers. If you're a great climber, you can, you know, gradually work your way up through the bunch, but it's not possible here because we can see this section here. You know, it's narrow. It's still on the asphalt road, and you know, when you look at the route book, it says 1.5 kilometers, but that's only the cobble section. You know, there's almost 1 kilometer with drags up where we see the bunch a moment ago, so it's all, I reckon it's 2.5 kilometers of a climb when you include the bottom section, which not is really on the route book. So it is a, you know, a climb where you have to be in front in the top 20-25 riders going onto it, and then if you've got the legs, and hopefully you can stay up there, stay close to the front as you get over the top, because then you go on you know, to the Patersberg and the Koppenberg, and they are really steep, short, but you know, they are vital climbs. If you've attacked them too far back in the bunch, well, then your race can be over.
It's Saxo Bank controlling the pace of the peloton at the moment. Bratchell, you can see, is the first of the red jerseyed riders here. Then behind the other red jerseyed rider with the black shorts is Fabian Cancellara, aiming to be one of only 11 men, he would be if he got there, to win all 3 early season classics, Milan-San Remo, Paris-Roubaix, and this particular race at the Tour of Flanders. Nicolas Rousseau is the big rider from AG2R being taken back as Stuart O'Grady comes up onto his left-hand shoulder and straight past him on the old Quermont. It's not exactly wide, is it, the old Quermont? And it's Saxo Bank setting the pace. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4 back is Juan Antonio Fletcher in the sky colours, looking very calm. Stewie does a brilliant job here. I wonder if he'll ever get his chance to do something for him again. He's quite happy doing the domestique works, and then occasionally he gets the chance to really shine. He's won Paris-Roubaix, of course.
And we can see Matthew Heyman there, also from the Sky team, a very experienced rider in the classics, and I think he's a one which could be important. He's just behind Stewie here at the moment. Important for Fletcher that he can go on, because he's a rider that has been in teams, you know, with Rabobank for many years. They was well, with Freyr, I suppose, also with Decker, and he's you know, I think you know, a big strong rider, but very experienced in this race.
Just a quick bit of coming through on Twitter. I understand, I haven't got the full results yet. The Grace Verbeek wins the women's Tour of Flanders ahead of Marianne Vos. So that's the 1-2 for the women's. But if you If Sky pulled this one off, Sean, if Juan Antonio Fletcher could pull this one off, or any of the Sky riders, that'd be a massive coup, wouldn't it, for a first-time team?
Certainly would be, you know, to put a new team together, and to come out and win, you know, one of the major classics. It would be, you know, a major coup, because you know, first of all, to put a team together, to get them to work together, not easy in its first year, and we've seen in the past with some teams do that. You know, it's rare that it works in the first year, and I think the Sky team has worked very well up till now. They've won some very good races, but you know, today is, I think, you know, it's the monument, and that's the one that all the big riders want to win. And certainly Fletcher, he's been knocking on the door for a number of years within the Rabobank team, and if he could do it today, it would be amazing. And you know, he started off well this season, winning the Newsblad in February. You know, he's a rider who, you know, seems to have a lot of talent, but sometimes his tactics maybe not the best in the crucial moments.
Thinking you've got still another, you know, 12 hills to go.
Yes. And if you get that over with that very crucial moment, and you can stay up there with the big favourites, well then you can come around. And it's often the case the big favourites go through a bad period at maybe the most difficult part of the race, or at another point during the day, and you can get through and you can come through and, you know, do a very good performance. You have to be very strong mentally. If you go through a very bad patch, you cannot throw in the towel, because I think, you know, all the big favourites, they get a taste of that sometime in their career in some race.
This is
and not maybe, you know, the best bike handlers on the cobble sections on the quarter-mount, then they're going to gaps appear, and it's so difficult for riders to get by, and that's the time you have a lot of groups on the road, as we see. And now as we go to Patersburg with our the rest, what's left of our breakaway riders, a great position to be in here when you come with 5 or 6 riders in front. Yeah. You have a bit of room here and you can get it over with, but they're going to pay the price because they've been out there so long. And I think when we see now the bunch coming around the corner here, as you said, a very, very tight corner where you turn up, it's, you know, they're going to come at a very, very fast rate.
This doesn't give you any idea of what this is like, these riders here. They're just sitting in there pedaling up it. This is so steep, you would not believe. It's about 1 in 5 towards the top. Getting out of the saddle now, they don't look as though they're really trying, but it's unbelievably hard work. This is the hill I was saying when Museu... As they go into it, the Patersburg, it's Stuart O'Grady hammering it at the front now. Saxo Bank really trying to take control completely. Breschel looking cool, looking calm, looks over his shoulder. It's Fabian Cancellara and Juan Antonio Fletcher next to each other. Then just behind, Tom Bonen in the Belgian champions jersey. As you can see, the Belgian flag at last. Boom on his wheel there from Rabobank.
Leif Holst here on the left.
Yep, in the white Leif Hoster with the black and red shorts. And it's now Breschel setting the pace towards the front. And it looks like Bonen who's... And Bonen, Hincapie, keen. Well, at this point, Sean, if you find yourself in a very elite group like this, what do? Push on or just sit up and wait and try, and it's just a bit of a test?
Well, I think as we see here, if you're in a position as we see Bonen there, and he was given the signal for Fletcher to come through, get everybody rolling through here, because they have only, what, 10 riders here, and you know, considering the next climb, it's a very important one, the Koppenberg, so roll on here, try and get everybody walking out.
Koppenberg, but I tell you what, this is a very, very elite group now. It's whittled down. They've got 76 kilometers to go. It's at 72.8 kilometers, the Koppenberg, so less than 5 kilometers from the finish of the Patersberg. And Fabian, Cancellara and Matti Brechtschel keen to keep this little group running along. Thor Hushovd has made this group. There it is, we can see it. Brechtschel is the man looking over his shoulder. Bonen in the Belgian champions jersey. Lars Boom has made it into this group. Fantastic riding by the young Dutchman. Really, really good indeed. Cancellara is in there, we know. Hushovd is in this group. Image around George Hincapie is a man for the classics, a man for Roubaix, a man for the Tour of Flanders, but he's never pulled it off. I always find it quite brings a smile to my face that a lot of marketing goes on. There's a certain his brand of bike, BMC, have been advertising their bikes and the cobblestones of Paris-Roubaix with George Hincapie on it being the specialist, but he's never actually pulled one of these big wins off, has he?
No,
yet.
He hasn't. No, yet, and it's going to be difficult now because he's getting to the end of his career, and you know, to see him in this position, as you mentioned, now in the race, he's been there before on a number of occasions. It's all about in the final, when we get into that final 30 kilometres, have you got it? You know, have you still got the power left to be able to match the big favourites and stay up there on the very, very final climbs of the day? You know, he certainly looked like one who could pull off a Roubaix or a Flanders. You know, he was every year he was there. Mechanical problem where he broke his handlebars and crashed very heavily, so that, you know, took him out that year. And you know, the Paris-Roubaix as a one is a race where you know, need to get through the race. With about 10 riders out in front, but if that's going to grow now because there's a group just about to make contact with our leaders, you know, it is a one again, which is all about, you know, staying as close to the front and getting a good run into it is very important. As you said, I think the Koppenberg is not as difficult as the Patersberg, because the Patersberg is a very, very tight corner and you have to slow a lot, so you lose a lot of your momentum.
Yeah, if you can get the momentum, it's a little bit easier. This is our front four men with just 43 seconds in hand now. Garcia Costa, Ignatiev, Gosinen, and the rider from Vacansoleil. And this final group is Just van Leyden.
And I think they're going with fear at the moment of not making it to the Koppenberg, because if you get caught before by the group, well, then it's a difficult situation. If you've been out there for a long time, some of the riders I think are starting to, you know, to really tire here in this breakaway, what's left of the breakaway. But if you get, you know, onto the Koppenberg with, you know, 15 seconds or 20 seconds in advantage, you have a chance of getting to the top. And you know, that's it's very important that you get over this one, because after that the other climbs maybe not as difficult, and you could, you know.
Here we go then. This is the bottom of the Koppenberg. This is absolutely legendary. This is the point last year where Fabian Cancellara snapped a chain. Game over for Cancellara. There was no way up. The cars are not allowed up here. It's too steep. The problem is that if it gets a little bit wet, and most cars now front-wheel drive, they just simply can't get up the cobbles at the top. That caused absolute havoc at the race. They've got bigger cobblestone sets on either side. They resurfaced this about 3 or 4 years ago. You can see the winter we've had, though, is beginning to break things up again here. They're not easy cobbles to go up, not like the Patersberg. The Patersberg is a much, much less rough surface. This is a nasty surface. You just got to dig in and go for this one. 22% at the top. And any slight bit of damp on this and you start to spin the wheels. That's a great shot. Oh, you're going to have to watch it. And the rest of the peloton arrive as Gosinen has the legs at the moment. Garcia Costa with the big thighs there going for it now. Here come the rest of the peloton. championship stripes on the sleeves yet. Just mopping up the rest of the riders at the moment. Oh, Brechel's giving it the big licks at the front. Oh, there's a problem already. Now you're going to have to get out of the way. As over goes Fletcher, Hincape, there's Gilbert we've just seen.
Cancellara,
And then that's it, half the peloton have to get off and rush. The really famous, that's Miller, stuck in the middle, yep.
Ja, de lijst gaat een pot. Heb je hem gezien? Nee. Flip.
Kilometers and we get to Steenbeek-Dries. That's the next hill in question. Then Tyenberg, Eichenberg, Molenberg, Leiberg, Berendries, Ten Bosch, the Muur, and then the Bosberg. There's a bit onto the side of the road, always a problem. It was one of the big problems with these cobblestone sets, these pavés, is that you can bounce around and bottles can sometimes fly out. I think it was it Flanders where André Schmil had a dreadful accident and broke his leg? And was it Roubaix? I can't remember, but it's a similar situation. Sometimes the bidon can bounce out and then you hit it or hit the water that's on the cobbles and away you go. Incidentally, talking to André Schmil, he's the oldest man to have ever won this race, 37 years of age, or more than 37 years of age. So it's almost over for our remaining three men out in front. Inside the last 70 kilometers of the Tour of Flanders, the Ronde van Vlaanderen, we had 8 men in a breakaway and they've all been mopped up, bar those 3 that you just see going through the feed station, and there's a pretty elite group now towards the front. All the big favourites made it over the Koppenberg without any problems at all. Lance Armstrong, well off the back, doesn't seem to be bothering too much today. But Matti Bretschel and Tom Bonen looking to be the two very strong men, but they missed out last time. Showing your hand this early, you never know, you may just be a little bit too much, but everybody looking, all the big favourites looking in good shape. No Pipo Pozzato this year. Ignatius Goossenen and Van Leeuwen. We could be wrong, by the way. We've had about several people writing in saying that wasn't Lance on the Koppenberg. It looked like it to me, but apparently it wasn't him. So we'll just have to double check on that. We do get it wrong. Thanks for the corrections whenever you send them in. And this is the group. There he is at the back there, 161 in this group. Just easing up a little bit now at the front. Sky have got control. Everybody else is happy to just let them continue. Two from Liquid Gas in here as well. Cancellara maybe one of them. Well, that didn't look like his style. Difficult to tell from overhead who is right up at the front. Lots of riders getting back into contact, moving forwards. We've got about, what, 40 riders here. And still hanging out there with 29 seconds. Goossenen having a good run. He seems to be dragging them along when they get to the hill. Great crowds once again. They're always at the side of the road. They'll be dashing from one hill to another, but I remember doing some filming for Eurosport here once, and trying to find a decent. I had to go from hill to hill, trying to get from a decent place to another to try and get some shots. And when you say to some guy, well, you just get that you've got a press bib on.
To be able to match the big guns, and it'll be interesting to see if he can stay on up there, as we see the Volder here trying to make his way back up. And you know, he is the one which you know, as a favourite and as a past winner, you know, he's a bit too far off here, because making the effort here to get back to the front, I think he can pay for that later. And I don't think his shape is good enough, although he's getting good. I think he's a little bit off to be up.
Costa.
27 kilometres to go, and it's just one of those sort of nail-biting points, isn't it, Sean, where you just wonder what's going to happen next, who's going to launch the next attacks.
it's the time now where the some of the smaller riders and the smaller teams, you know, will be nervous, because if we get into a situation where they, you know, start looking at each other, the teams, the riders start, you know, playing about a bit and attacks start going, that's where you have to be really careful. If you're a rider a second rate.
Ignatief, Kuusinen, Van Leyen. Still looking over their shoulders because the peloton is just a little bit behind them. And it's Sky and Saxo Bank have been animating it so far. Bonen's just been able to ride the coattails of others, really, and now push coming on from Omega Pharma. It's Leif Hosta trying to animate things a little bit. Matthew Heyman doing the shadow.
If he finds himself in a leading group and it starts to attack, he's the one who, you know, would start going into the attack, or certainly be with the attacks going away. So, you know, he's not a rider that should hang around in the bunch and just follow the situation. Although at the moment, as you see, he's just trying to load up on some gels, and we could see him a little bit further, maybe having a go and trying to form a group way out front.
Gosh, wouldn't that be a turn up for the books? Thomas Okolo wins Tour of Flanders. That really would be a turn up for the books. Bernard Eisel I've seen up towards the front here, Sean. He's been having a very good early season as well.
Yes, and you know, I think the good point there is in the Ghent-Wevelgem game, winning that, you know, that tells us that the form is good. But again, you know, there's no guarantee. The riders that have won Ghent-Wevelgem in the past, you know, they have problems in the other bigger classics. It's just that little step up in the difficulty and all.
It's not, maybe not his cup of tea, this one. Here we are on the Eikeberg, another fairly long one, 1.3 kilometers of length. Again, not such a rough section of cobbles, but such narrow roads on the Tour of Flanders. And Matthew Heyman from Sky.
David Comene.
Who's this guy? Balan, a very classy rider, but we haven't seen anything of him so far in this year's Tour of Flanders. But it's still early days. It's 60 kilometers still to go, and one of these couple of teams trying to control things at the front, and Sky doing a good job. Saxo Bank have been doing a very good job, and Breschel, Cancellara, Fletcher, Bonen, all looking threatening. There's still time, isn't there, Sean? If you're in this lead group but not really showing yourself at the front, are you conserving a bit more energy? Is there still time for you to make your way to the front? Surely there is.
Yes, there's sure time to move here, and if you're if you're a rider who can, career. So you know the names that you see in the results, they were always the big favourites when I was taking part, and they were always difficult ones you come up against. Well, then it's very important.
Only one British rider's ever won this race, Tom Simpson. Back in 1961, managed to outfox De Philippis. You know De Philippis in the end. I think De Philippis actually eased up when he got to the line, and he'd already got the better of Simpson, as far as I understand it. And De Philippis eased up towards the line. Simpson went, "Oh hey, I'll have some of that," and out-sprinted him in the end. Didn't have the same sort of kick as De Philippis, but he did win, the only British rider ever to have won the Tour of Flanders. Who knows? Maybe things will be a little bit different. It's Jürgen Roelandts who is pushing on front.
Well, he has a rear flat there, and he's just keeping it going. And it's a difficult moment here because between two groups, there's no service car actually. So he just had to keep on rolling and stay as close to this leading group as possible until the service come.
We'll take a short break. And there's Armstrong. And also in this group just behind him was Marcel Seberg. It's Fabian Cancellara here behind the car. He's obviously had a problem. We're not quite sure what that problem is, but off the back of that main group now. He's got, looks like O'Grady, who he's just passing. Cancellara, there's a little bit of a panic on his face there. Look at the speed he's going though. Be careful. Commissars will be very, very watchful. He's getting a bit of a tow from the Saxo Bank car, and he can also go like the clappers as well. He passed Thomas Vogler at a rate of knots there. 56 to go. He's going to have to try and go past. In the slipstream he gets again. This is going to be a bit careful about this, Sean.
Yes, he has to be careful, but I think he will get a warning here. It's not like in the stage race where you get a time penalty, but he's going to make a change here.
Yep, bike changes it. Yep, bike change for Cancellara. Running along, getting his new bike straight into the saddle.
Here comes O'Grady.
O'Grady's behind him, is it? Studio Grady. Oh, look at the power of this man. He goes straight past Thomas Fokler. And he's got great bike handling skills as well. Cancellara around the neutral service car, gets a little bit of a push off. He's a clever rider. Now chasing chasing onto the back of the next group of riders. He's going to get back up there. But a little bit of a heart-stopping moment for Fabian Cancellara. Terrific bike handler and so strong. Well, per start receiving. So, well, originally you couldn't get any help at all. Then back in the 1930s, they managed to allow you to get spare tubes and tires and so on handed up to you. Then in the 50s, you were able to swap your bike if there was a problem with the frame or fork, and that was about it, really. No such problems these days. In fact, they used to tag the bikes before the start. I think the day before the start, they used to take you had to take your bike to the officials. They'd tag them so that they'd know which bike was you were riding. And if you finished on another bike, then that was deemed to have been illegal. Unless, of course, you had a frame or fork problem in which you're allowed to swap the bikes. No such problem. Oh, the Lotto team, the Belgian Lotto team, takes the victory ahead of Marianne Vos and Kirsten Wild of the Cervelo test team. There's something going on here, because Bretschel was out of the clip there. He needs a bike change as well, does he? Clearly a problem for... Oh, what's going on with this? Let's have a look. Bretschel waiting for another bike. They can't get it out the rack. That's not good. Oh, slight panic going on here. They can't get the bike out of the rack. Or maybe they got the wrong one out. Oh dear, there's all sorts of problems. Bretschel saying, that's the wrong bike, surely. He's not happy, Sean. I think they've given him the wrong bike, haven't they?
Well, it looks like that is it's not the bike that was first choice, because the mechanic seemed to go to the other side and could not get the bike out for some reason. Yes, Bretschel doesn't, look too convinced to keep, hanging around here. You're going to lose a lot of time to get back in. And we see there, Fiandre Ries got out of the car quite late. He was allowing all the cars to go by, which is a good thing to do, because if you block the whole road, well, then there's a big gap between the back on, and I think that was his idea, to allow the cars to go through and, not have a big gap to close down for Bretschel later on.
Interesting, isn't it? Such a smooth change for Fabian Cancellara, and he's right back up at the front of this group. Bretschel has been doing so much work. Not a good change. Real problems. Geraint Thomas on the left-hand side for Sky. And I think the other rider is Stannard, and I'm not sure. It looks like Stannard. Looks like it, and he's had a great early season as well. Two strong British riders at the front for Sky now.
You can see Stannard's style. His knees are a little bit sticking out.
Not all over the place?
Yes, all over the place, I suppose, is the way to put it. Not a very nice position or nice style on the bike, but efficient at times.
Effective. Effective indeed. This is Bretschel, who's last shone by the look of it. Just trying to pace him back towards the front. Gustave Eric Larsson has another big strong man who's sort of had a resurgence at Saxo Bank. He could never settle at a team. Went through teams like they were water. Heyman once again pushing on. That looks like Staff Sheerlinks in second spot. Leif Hoster looking very calm and cool and collected. Hoster, a very tall man with a very small head, I have to say, and enormous legs. He looks like a cyclist. Couldn't be anything else but a cyclist if you saw him close up. Fabian Cancellara once again wearing helmet at slightly jaunty angle. Does seem to always flub over to one side. Hincapie looking very cool.
Then you have to ride with a number of riders on the front. Otherwise you're going to have the situation which we see here where they will allow one rider just to go off. But it seems to be with the Omega Farm Lotto team that they just wanted, you know, to slow up things for the moment.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way. Maybe Philippe Gilbert's thinking, I need a bit of a breather here. Need to keep things under control. Well, look who it isn't pushing along on the front. It's Mr. Armstrong himself. Lance in the black and yellow helmet. We missed that completely early on where he was, but there he is. Lance Armstrong did get into that front group. He's got Tom Bonin, 1, 2, 3 back. Also
Phillips, and try and get your calculation, get your tactic right as we go, you know, into the final of the race.
Matt Heyman sitting up really, waiting for the 3 to join him here, and they're all going to get back together fairly shortly. Faulkner's man has made his way up to the front of this main group here. Just shows that he's in good shape, but actually the pace has dropped off. It's more to the point.
He's had his gel.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Look at that great long line of cars. You can just see how difficult it is for a rider who's been dropped. Here is Matty Bretschel, and he's got Thor Hushoff for company. And is that Bohm? Looks a lot like him on the left-hand side, Lars Bohm. It just goes to show if you get distanced here now, well, you can make use of some of the cars, but it is still quite difficult to get back up to the lead group on these small twisting roads here.
Yes, it's always difficult on this race because they to make contact at the moment, and you know, the cars, they can help a lot, and you can save a lot of energy because you go from one car to the other to get back into the group. You stay behind the car for a time and then you just leave.
In control. This is the Molenberg. This is a nasty one, this one. You come on it at 90 degrees. It's often either the first or early on in this Tour of Flanders. It's a twisting serpentine type of climb. Quite steep. Gets steeper as it goes through the first bend. And quite rough, this one as well. And Os beginning to suffer. Look at the way that pumping on those pedals on the right-hand side is Tom Bonin. Cancellara showing a bit of strength. Whoa, my word. Straight to the front to force the pace along. Now the other big favourite to be looking at that. Oh, he's put about two bike lengths into everybody already. Cancellara going up the Molenberg, showing he's got the strength. Looks over his shoulder. Who could stay with me, he says, and it's Tom Bonin. Oh, these are two great rivals for the classics now. They've both won Paris-Roubaix. Bonin's won Flanders, and I'm afraid that Cancellara hasn't yet. That's what he wants to do. Oh, that put a big split in there. That really did. That's hurt a lot of people there, Sean.
Yes, and it's amazing, you know, the power of Cancellara. We see just, you know, in a very short space, he put such a distance into the group that he was originally in, and with, you know, Bonin, he'll have to make a big effort to get into the wheel. But when we see here now they're just pulling away, it will be interesting to see with the Sky team. They have a number of riders, and this is where you need 1 or 2 teammates to really, you know, to ride and to take you back into the position, because for Fletcher here, you know, to come across this on his own, it's going to be a big effort, and it's a big ask, and that's why you need, you know, to be minding some of your teammates a bit earlier on. I certainly would be doing it. I would not put him on the front and get him to, you know, really push the pace along. I think I would wait for a more crucial moment, and this is it at the moment.
Even so, though, it's still a long way to launch an attack. 44 kilometers to go. This is the bit where you'd always see riders like Ludo Dirksens getting to the front, and all the favourites going, oh, thank goodness for that, because we know he's just going to ride till he can't ride anymore. People get a bit of a shelter on this bit. He's got a man up the road. It's the Belgian champion, Tom Bonin, replete in a new Belgian champion's Eddy Merckx bicycle, as you can see. They are now the bike providers for Quickstep. And Cancellara now on the front doing the work. Reinens and Isel just having a few little words, looking at each other. Nice looking bike, gotta say. We'll take a short break. These two away. They've got 17 seconds of a gap.
Kijk in de helikopter. Kijk de helikopter wordt gewoon filmen, hè? Moet zwaaien, hè? Moet zwaaien, hè? En die film, die film. Ja, goed. En weer aan. En weer aan. Hallo, nee, hallo. Wat hebben we elkaar gezicht op te lachen, vangen? Wat hebben we elkaar gezicht op te lachen?
Met, even kijken, dat is Hogerland, met Jalingi, met de Miller, met Burkhardt, met de Quinziato, met de Isel. We zien Langeveld zitten, we zien Guedon, we zien Quinziato, we zien Heyman, we zien Chanel, ook Hammond is erbij.
Reactie van Gilbert, reactie van Philippe Gilbert.
Gilbert inderdaad in de reactie, we zien hem gaan en dan is het de Fletcher die daar dat wiel probeert te springen met Hinkepie in derde positie. Gilbert bukkend tegen de wind in.
Voorsprong 16 seconden volgen.
Nou, we zijn door, kijk. Ja, we zijn er al. Vooruit! 202. Dat is het eerst. 204. Goed. 1, 2, de Volder! Armstrong!
Ik een naam eer kunnen aandoen.
En dan zouden we, als die vooraan geraken, natuurlijk een totaal ander beeld krijgen.
Mannetje van Garmin.
Als die al vooraan geraken, want de twee hebben nog altijd een 14 seconden. Het is wel een cruciale fase nu, dat hebt u wel begrepen.
Spartelend. Spartelend. Nuis die denk ik ook op komst is.
Zit hij er nog tussen? In Sint-Cornelis-Horebeke. We zitten op Van Petegem grond. We zijn ook niet zo ver van de Haaghoek. Renaat.
Ja, het is Miller die daar naartoe rijdt. En ook de Volder is meegesprongen. Miller met nog één mannetje van Astana in zijn wiel. En die gaan de aansluiting maken met het groepje Gilbert, het trio Gilbert, zeg maar.
Iglinski zit erbij. Het is Langeveld die mee is.
Ja.
Pas op, hè. Wie is het? Ja, Arreno. Allee, jongens, kom op. Van den Berg. Van Avermaat. Van den Berg. Even Avermaat. Brasso. Oei, oei. Brasso.
See this, you know, this will it succeed? And you know, Cancellara, I think, surprising first of all to see him going into the attack, because Matthew Breschel was just trying to make his way back into the group that Cancellara was originally in, but he wants to make the race difficult. Cancellara, that's the way he can win this one. In the sprint, as we all know, he's not great in the sprint, and with Tom Bolan, if he leaves the race become easier for Bolan, well then difficult to beat him in the sprint. And by doing it this way, taking Bolan out with 40 kilometers.
Step rider on the right hand side. Is that Sebastian Langeveld, I think, from Rabobank? Could be wrong, but I'll have a good look at him in a minute. And this group has got 20 seconds now of a gap. It's amazing when you watch.
I don't think his shape is as good as Bolan. He is capable of winning it when he's at his best. And at the moment we see Quickstep, they're trying to just block the situation here, make it difficult for the chasers, just rolling to the front and slowing the pace down. And they're succeeding because it's growing out now to 27 seconds. Yeah. It's a good situation for Quickstep to be in. I think it's the best situation for the moment.
Nobody really wanting to take up the full weight of things. Steve Chanel. Now he's already won a stage in the last week or so in Japan, and is in super shape, and finally, you know, got good confidence in himself. He's ridden for a number of other teams before this. I think he was with, no, who was he with before? Can't remember, but French teams. And Steve in good shape, clearly in good shape, and suddenly out of a small group, with actually David Miller in that group, he suddenly managed to get his way out of it, and was and has really boosted his confidence with a win. There is Lance Armstrong. Third group on the road now for Armstrong. And he has with him it's Burkhardt just behind for BMC. Difficult sometimes to see actually on the overhead shots from the helicopter. The Radio Shack and BMC colours are very similar. And 23 seconds. David Miller moving the pace on a little bit. Steindevolder doesn't want to let Miller get away. Miller thinks, I think he's perhaps got the skills to ride away from this group and ride across to the front group. De Volder knows that's a good move. And as De Volder reacts, everybody else reacts. Well, if Miller gets a shake on, that wouldn't be such good news for Bonin and Cancellara. Good move by Miller. Really good move. And the funny thing is, Sean, he hasn't had to put a huge amount of, a massive amount of effort in to get away from the other group, because Steindevolder initially chased, then he sat up a little bit, waiting for the others to do something, and they haven't. So Miller not having to put massive effort in the moment.
No, and he just waited at the moment. There was quite a few of moves and attacks, and we see that the quick steps were, you know, just closing things down. But went at the moment was good, but he did go very strong, because we could see the Volder. He went after him, you know, and tried to get back into his wheel. And again, it's difficult with Miller, because he is, you know, very deceiving, such a good style. It looks like that he's not really trying and going that fast. But if you are trying to, you know, bridge that 3 or 4 bike lengths of a gap, it can be so difficult when Miller really just turns on the gas.
Fabian Soleil doing the work on the front now. They have 2 or 3 men in this group, which is good for them. Daniel Oss, you can see the back of him there for Liquigas in that group with Lance Armstrong. And now Philippe Gilbert pushing on. He's trying to drag them up this climb at Berendries. One of the tarmac climbs. Gilbert. And he's causing a few pain and suffering moments behind. Steve Chanel just hanging in there, which is great stuff for him. But Steindevolder being distanced, I think he's really suffering. Head's going down for Steindevolder there. And Gilbert has put in a big attack. And he's going straight up to David Miller. Miller will have to hang on to this one now. He gets out of the saddle. He knows they're coming. He can work with them, Sean.
Yes, well, this is a good move now with Gilbert and Lucamans, who was going quite well, I think, group on the road. So it's growing out rapidly.
That is a remarkable piece of riding by these two. It just goes to show how good. You've got to say that Fab's been taking most of the turns on the front, but Bonin's now coming through to do an equal amount. I think they know that if they can keep this one up, it's between those two. They're going to have to work exceptionally hard behind to get back on with 54 seconds of a gap. Really difficult now. Are we going to see the Tour of Flanders contested with these 2 riders now, Sean?
Well, it looks very much the situation, because I think our 3 chasers, you know, of Lucamans, Miller, Gilbert, they would be really trying to, you know, to get across this one as quick as possible, but they're not, you know, eating into the time advantage. It's growing out, in fact, so not looking good. And again, you know, Gilbert, I think he was struggling when the attack went, when Cancellara attacked with Bonin reacting, and you know, that was the time to go. And when we did not see Gilbert, he would have the experience, but if you haven't got the legs, well, then you cannot do it. And I think on that climb he was just a little bit in the red zone, as they say in cycling terms, and just could not really. He will try it on the following one again.
So we're going to come down to the last 2 hills then. They've been over the 10 boss. It's the Muur, coming with only 15.8 kilometers to go. They're just sort of recouping now while they can. 50 seconds is enough of a gap. And then it's the Bosberg with just under 12 kilometers to go. Long hill, the Bosberg. Well, long enough at that stage of the race. Not the longest in the race, of course. It's a mixture of cobbles and asphalt. At the bottom it's asphalt, it's cobbles at the top, 980 meters. The Muur, half that distance, 475 meters. Very steep though, nearly 10%. All cobbles. This looks like a good gap now. 52 seconds only from... Restart.
Hey, Philippe.
Bonen moet het in principe niet doen. Zeker niet. Die moet niks doen. Meerijden. Kijk wat Cancellara gaat doen. Cancellara misschien daar of Bosberg eens proberen. Of het lukt.
En hij heeft natuurlijk ook die wetenschap dat het hem al tot 2 keer toe gelukt is. En ook in een gelijkaardige situatie. Maar toen wel met Hoste in 2006. En dat was natuurlijk als sprinter een stuk minder. Dus vooral die kracht. Tot 800 watt van deze Cancellara.
Allebei, zoals we in dit beeld kunnen zien, dat is allebei niet echt met een supergrote versnelling. Hè. Goed draaien, uiteraard goed vooruit gaan ook, maar zeker niet de benen kapot rijden, niet een fout maken, want ze weten dat ze zich geen fout kunnen veroorloven. Hè.
Lads, come on, hey, lads.
Alleen aankomen. Waar gaat die Bonen losrijden?
Opgelet. Een sprint na 262 kilometer is een vreemde sprint. Maar in principe is Bonen uiteraard sneller. Bonen al is tweede in Milaan-San Remo, tweede in de E3-prijs Harelbeke. Dat zal al wel genoeg zijn, zeker. Maar Cancellara zegt nu al ruim een jaar: ik droom maar van 1 dag. Dat is deze. Daar is hij al een hele winter mee bezig.
Ja, maar heeft er natuurlijk de moeilijkste man heeft hij meegekregen. Hè. Tom Bonen, hemzelf, zeker de Tom Bonen van 2.
Kom maar, Brescia.
What they need to do, taking on French riders, they put a huge effort into it. But unfortunately, they were up against, the teams. When you look at the teams who are selected, well, then it's, difficult to, it's difficult to say what they should have been in instead of any of those teams that are in there. I think, the two that missed out, Skill Shimano and Vacansoleil, they were the ones who are always going to be doubtful for me.
Yeah. And to be fair, they've taken it very much on the chin, haven't they? They've said, well, we tried what we can try, but there's so many good teams around. And they have to go with the best lineup. Just one of them. broadcasters. Belgian television have done the most fabulous job once again on the Tour of Flanders. They really know how to produce pictures for a race. And we benefiting here on Eurosport, and the weather's been good too. 51 seconds, it's still holding on there with 19 kilometers to go. The top 10 place, as Sean has said, in the Tour of Flanders really means something. They would very much like it to come down below 50 seconds though, and start catching them. They're not going to though.
Daar is de rijmer daar. Hé, zo aan de mark. Dus ik heb hem. Zo aan hè.
Shaking the legs out a little bit. Here's Tom Bonen. Cancellara had done a fair amount of it so far. In the following group, Leif Hoster and Langeveld, De Volder.
They can do it, so I think we'll get a very clear picture as we get over the top of this one.
Here they go then. This is the just the brick paving now. Now they turn onto the climb proper. Through these massive crowds, they'll swing around to the right here. It gets steeper and steeper and steeper up towards the top. Left-hand turn again, and then climbing out of the sort of urban conurbation here. Cancellara setting the pace on the front at the moment. It doesn't look like there's going to be a big stinging attack at this moment. You never know that these two riders just will know each other so well.
And of course this section here is not the most difficult up through the town. It's a bit further on when you turn up, and it gets quite a bit narrower the road. That is the real section, and you know, Bowen is going to sit in the wheel here. He's not going to do anything trying to take the front. His, I think, tactic will be just to try and stay in the wheel of Cancellara to get over this one.
There used to be prizes for the climbs themselves. Used to get preems going over the top of these many years ago, which you got huge action by riders. They don't have that sort of thing anymore, where you're out for money prizes for each climb. Cancellara still setting the pace in the front. Bonen quite happy to follow. Now Bonen moves to the right-hand side. Cancellara quite happy to let him go there. It gets harder and harder and harder as they go up. The crowd's absolutely manic for this race. They love it here in Flanders. They're still just pacing each other at the moment. Oh, David. Further back, it's Leukemans and Gilbert, who are just pulling away a little bit now from Miller. Standing on the pedals is Tom Bonen, both of them back inside. It's almost incredible to think that riders like yourself, Sean, and these guys, they just sit in the saddle up here. I mean, most people are suffering. If you ever ride this as a leisure rider, you just suffer a million deaths going up here.
Yes, and you know, the best way. especially on this section, which is really steep. And as we see Cancellara just, you know, turning up the gas here and really trying to put Bourne under pressure.
Oh, and he is as well. That's fabulous. Oh, he just sits in the saddle and turns the pedal. Oh, what class. And Bonen's struggling. Bonen's struggling to hang on. That is super class. Oh, that is fantastic. Oh. He is there, man, but Cancellara is just ridden away at the moment. How far has he made that gap? Well, it's big enough that the cameras can't see it. Where is Fabian Cancellara? Remember, he's got the skills for descending as well. Oh, look at that. That's a massive gap. He's pulled out, what, 300 meters? 250 meters. That is brilliant, and he's just seen he's got it. He's got a ride to the, he's got a time trial to the end now. He's still got the...
But you know, it's when you're like Bonin and you come to a climb like this, you're just starting to tire a little bit. Cancellara, it's so dangerous, and you know, that was his tactic. He take Bonin out from a long ways before this climb and trying to work him over a bit, and that's exactly what he's done.
He certainly has.
Yeah, on road.
Come on, Farah! Mondovie, Eiffel, Rachel. Yes, you guys. What's it?
Familiar pose, isn't it? Hands on the middle of the bars. He might as well have been in a time trial bike. Well, with the exception perhaps of Alberto Contador, is Fabian Cancellara, well, different type of rider, but is Fabian Cancellara the most impressive bike rider in the world? Who knows? He could argue a very good case that he is. And that must be terribly demoralizing, Sean, if you're in a position like Tom Bonin, where you know you're in good form, but there's just no answer to this.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, although, you know, it's a great performance by Bonin, able to match Cancellara when he did go into the attack on the Molenberg. He was the overanalyzing for Bonin. If it was a reverse situation where Bonin went on ahead here on this climb, well, Cancellara would have some chance with his time trial ability, but for Bonin, you know, against a Cancellara who is, you know, one of the world's best time trialists, and also when you're a little bit suffering on the climb and he rides away from you, know, he's got that little bit of extra energy left, it's going to be impossible for Bonin, and he, you know, realised that immediately when he started to lose 2-3 bike lengths. I think from there on you just have to limit your losses, get over the climb as quickly as possible, and just, you know, go to the finish as fast and as quickly as possible and try and hold the chasers off. Now I think that is the objective for Bonin, to try and get the second position out of this one.
What do you do? I mean, how quickly do you have to alter your game plan, Sean? I mean, how does your mind work when you think, that's it, I can't stay with him, and then all the panic situation, of course, you could start chasing the game, and then you run the risk of losing your second place as well.
Yes, well, on the climb, we could see Bonan there. He was just giving it everything and try and get over the climb as quickly as possible. But then you have to get into, you know, a rhythm, and certainly not go into the red immediately after the climb. You know, Bonan, I think he could see, and he realised immediately that there was never any way back to Cancellara. So you have to think about, you know, the riders that are chasing from behind, and just, you know, calculate your effort from here on to the finish. And I think that's what Bonan is doing at the moment, as we see 36 seconds or 38 seconds, sorry, for Bonan, 109 for our chasers. So, you know, Bonan still has a nice advantage, and he should be able to hold that off to the finish if he doesn't really tire on this, the final climb of the day.
Yeah. Here we are. He looks as though he's plugging on, but I think it's taken a little bit out of him going over the Muur. Now, where is Tom Bonan? Here he is. He's never going to get back. Head's going down between the shoulder blades. He's pushing on as hard as he can, but he's still not got it in him. Just shows how incredible.
Come on, Fabian!
Merckx, Van Looy, Derek, De Bruyne and Bobe, and Van Steenbergen as well. In fact, Van Steenbergen was the youngest ever winner of this race, 19 years old. Last man to do the triple was Andre Schmiel in 2000, when he was the oldest winner ever of this race at 37, well over 37. A little bit too far, too hard for David Miller.
And of course, Miller finishing the 3 days of Pana. You must remember all of those riders, you know, really just prepared for the one today, and Cancellara, Bonan, not riding the 3 days of the Pana. They prefer to go away and just prepare quietly for this one. So when you finish the Pan and, you know, do the final time trial, you're going to pay the price a little bit as well. And I think Miller is having that feeling and getting that at the moment.
Cancellara, of course, will be one. Well, he'll join the other 10 men who've won all 3 opening classics in their career. Bonan wanted Belgian, I think, if I'm right in saying so, to win the Tour of Flanders. Was Suter, a Swiss rider. And Cancellara in just fabulous, magnificent form. Where is Bonan? Can we see him physically? Oh, it's just got such a huge gap. It has been the pattern over the last few years, though, Sean, that riders just ride away from people towards the end.
Yes, well, it's such a difficult final, and you know, with the Muur and then the Borsberg, it's you know, big task. And when you consider all the climbs, you know, in the race, 15 in total, you know, it's a race that, you know, only the fittest and only the strongest survive. And we've, you know, seen so many times that a rider who is in good shape and has that just a little fraction of percentage better than the others, fitness level, strength wise, in the end, he can just go on and ride away on his own. And you know, that's a familiar sight in the Tour of Flanders. And Cancellara, of course, when he gets into top shape and he's just, you know, touched it at the right moment, he's coming in the last 10 days really good. And last week, you know, in the E3 prize, he was so impressive. And when he attacked in the end, he was with Bonan and Fletcher, and he just rode away from him in the final, inside the final kilometre. It's such an unbelievable, you know, power that he could do it on the flat. And when he, you know, when you can do it there, well then, if you have that little bit on the climb, you can, you know, you can certainly do it. And Cancellara has, you know, he's just got his top peaked at the right moment, and we've seen it. We've seen it today, the way he's ridden up the Muur. And you know, we must remember that special, and it was unbelievable. The, you know, the pulling he was doing in the front. He had 30 riders in his wheel, and everybody was just hanging there. And we could see at that moment that, you know, he was getting into good shape. Then Brechtel goes in the attack, and everybody looks at Cancellara. So of course, you know, then on the E3 prize, he just, you know, was that much stronger again. And we could see that the form was really coming. And for today, I think the riders know more because they're with the guy. They're with him every year over the past couple of years, and they can feel that he was going to be very, very difficult to beat.
He's not just classy, he's just downright frightening. Well, Flanders' finest, Tom Bonen, still pushing hard to secure that second place, and it's a big thing for the crowds here as well to see him out here at the head of affairs, so to speak. Well, he was at the head of affairs. Fabian Cancellara just never looks as though he's even suffering, to be honest. But he's absolutely ripped for this race and for next weekend's Paris-Roubaix. The ability to suffer of this man is incredible. He has great strength, but he just is capable of suffering more than other riders. And a terrific win it's going to be for Saxo Bank. And will they carry it across into Paris-Roubaix, where they've had such a great history in recent years? Of course, this man has won Paris-Roubaix already, and he will become, as I say, one of a handful of riders to win all 3 early season classics. And the last one was André Schmil. Of course, had Belgian citizenship then, but he's now a Moldovan again. He won Milan-San Remo in '99 and Paris-Roubaix won back as far as 1994, but the last of his wins when he was 37 odd years of age was in the Tour of Flanders in 2000. Henny Kuiper, he won all 3. Jan Ras, De Vlaminck had multiple wins in Oregon. I think he won Milan-San Remo 3 times, did he? Won Paris-Roubaix 4, Mr. Paris-Roubaix as he was known as. The most successful of them all, of course, Eddy Merckx. I think I'm right. Is it 7 Milan-San Remos he won? Terrific win streak. 7 for Eddy Merckx in Milan-San Remo, 2 of the Tour of Flanders, and 3 Paris-Roubaix. So by far the most successful of the winners of all 3 early season classics. Well, where can he go from here, this man? He's won the World Time Trial Championships. He's had a good stab at the World Road Championships. That must be his next objective, surely, I would have thought.
Well, I think some of the other classics, he said that the Ardennes Classic is the ones which he would like to win. And he feels that he can do that. For that matter, the Hillier Classics, like the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, I think he could, win that in the years to come. A Tour of Lombardy, maybe that one, the climbs are that bit longer, but he has mentioned, I've read it, that the Liège-Bastogne-Liège is a classic that he feel that he could win in a number of years.
And he's right in the middle of his best period. What, 29 now, something like that? Fabian Cancellara. He's still got years to go. Probably what, 3-4 years of his best riding.
And we go back to Tom Bonen, and he's suffering very, very difficulty continuing to keep the pedals turning.
Under the 1 kilometre to go banner then for Fabian Cancellara. He's still motoring on, but he's easing up a little bit. He knows he's got it in the bag. He's a very happy man. What's he got here? A little angel of some sort, is it? Oh, he's a very happy man. Fabian Cancellara, he attacked on the Molenberg. He shed most of the major rivals there, and then he attacked again on the Mur and just rode away. I can't really tell what that is.
Swiss gold.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Fabian Cancellara, fabulous ride. He just rode away from Tom Bonen. Bonen looking like he was all over the bike, and Cancellara just sitting on it, out of the saddle, just winds it up a little bit more. He's sort of shaking his head. He can't believe it. Well, you better believe it, son. You're the best on the day by a long, long way. Bjarne Riis congratulates him. He's got a ride to the line. Lone victor of the Tour of Flanders, Fabian Cancellara, winner in E3 just a week ago. Fabulous ride by the Swiss national champion. He's the World Time Trial champion. He grabs a Swiss flag going over. The first man to win the Tour of Flanders who wasn't a Belgian was Suter, a Swiss man. A great tradition. Kept on by Fabian. Oh! is a very happy man indeed. Terrific win, Sean. Brilliant win.
Yes, and just a magnificent performance. And when you go out there as one of the big favourites, and he certainly was that. He just did a magnificent job, and to take up the race so early, it is always a little bit you're a little bit nervous doing that. The others, if it doesn't succeed, and when we see the situation with Bonin and Cancellara out front, if that group of 20-25 riders had managed to get back in there, well then you would pay for that effort maybe. But he had to do that, and I think he calculated very well. Really given a difficult ride to Bonin, not to allow him to get a handy ride to the Muir, for example, or to the Busberg. And just the sheer power and the fitness coming out on top.
Second this year then for former winner of the Tour of Flanders, twice a former winner, Tom Bonin. Well, maybe he can get his revenge next week at Paris-Roubaix, which he's already won 3 times. But that was a hard... Disappointing. He knows on the day that when a rider of Cancellara's capabilities is on top form, then there are very, very few, if any, in the world who can match him. So the Swiss champion comes in first here in the Ronde van Vlaanderen under lovely, lovely spring sunshine. Well, the chasing group still have to catch these two. It's Björn Leukemans and Philippe Gilbert who will take the 3rd spot. Leukemans, who took a bit of a toe, to be frank, starts the sprint early. Can Gilbert wind it up and come past him? He should be able to. He's the better of the sprinters. And Gilbert takes 3rd ahead of Björn Leukemans of Vacances. Nine de Volder, last year's winner, is in the group of behind. Heinrich Hausler, who was 2nd last year, is not in the race. Who's going to take the sprint for 5th? Bernhard Eisel is the man leading them out at the moment. There's a whole bunch of riders in here. Yeah, it looks like Farah. Farah, then Hinkepi, and then I'm not sure who the Cervelo rider was. It could have been Roger, actually. Fabian Cancellara takes a memorable win, a beautiful win. That was class riding. And Tom Bonin, he will have said congratulations to Fabian Cancellara already.